Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course. You good old boys in Canada, we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful June the 14th, 2019. Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, I'm elated that the Stanley Cup playoffs is over, the NBA playoffs is over. As an old man, I have a bedtime, like 9 o'clock at night. So now I can get back to my normal rest period.
Yeah, well, they say sleep is good for the mind, and we could all use a better mind, especially with this beautiful Father's Day weekend coming up. We want to wish all the fathers in the universe happy Father's Day from Big C Sports. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I just want to say, I know that there's a lot of veterans out there who are also fathers, and some people who serve this great country, and they may have some issues to deal with. You're not alone. I think Michael Jackson sang a song that says, "You are not alone," and he sang it better than anybody could sing it. But we just want to give this national hotline for people going through issues, whether you're a veteran or just a regular person. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text. That's 838-255. 838-255. If you're having any issues, please call that number. And Big C, your thoughts on Father's Day?
Charlton, you'd like to wish a happy Father's Day weekend and a happy Father's Day to all the great fathers out there in America and around the world, Charlton. There's no more greater feeling than to have children and to be able to have a great relationship with them, Charlton, throughout a lifetime, and to be able to share that with the rest of your family.
Yep.
And it's sad that we only celebrate one day as Father's Day, Charlton. That's a 365-day-a-year job when you think about Father's Day.
It is.
And sometimes when your kids get older, the worst word that you hear is dad. Because you know that it means they want something.
Right.
You would prefer that they call you by your first name, Charlton.
Yeah, and I know it's a great day. I lost my father a couple of years ago, but I still think about all the times we shared and all the happy birthdays and, hugs, advice, and a lot of good things. I know a lot of people, if you have a father around, pick up the phone and call them. There's a day you won't be able to call, and there's a day they won't be able to answer. And hopefully, if you're anywhere in the universe listening, pick up the phone, call your parents. It's easy to say hi, happy Father's Day, and hopefully you don't wait just for this day. I do want to say there's a lot that happened in the world of sports, especially in California. Last night, we saw the Toronto Raptors, Canada, our home and native land. Congratulations to the Toronto Raptors. They brought a championship to Canada, and oftentimes, they're the only team that can. Isn't that a big axe to grind, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're the only basketball team that can bring a championship to Canada. But when you think about it, every state in the United States doesn't have a team. They have multiple teams. A lot of states have just one team.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, as far as how it is, and it's been 24, 25 years in the making for Toronto to put together this group of people that were able to win the championship. They've been in the playoffs multiple years, Charlton, but LeBron James was in the Eastern Conference, and we all know that he made 8 consecutive runs to the finals.
Yeah.
Once he left the East, Charlton, it was wide open. And congratulations to Canada and the Toronto Raptors for accomplishing a tremendous feat last night, Charlton, being the first NBA title ever north of the border.
Yeah, and it's amazing how just seeing that 114-110 defeat of the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of times people wonder how things happen in a championship series, and it's really no one's fault. And I hear a lot of pundits saying that someone lost the championship, and because a certain player, didn't hit a shot or get a rebound, you really don't lose anything. Somebody wins and somebody loses. That's the fact before you start the game. But I just appreciate that we saw great basketball last night. You look at what happened with the Golden State with Klay Thompson, who had 30 points, and he was injured in the third quarter. And it's amazing. No Klay Thompson, no KD, and then you looked at maybe Iggy was a little banged up. Boogie Cousins played well, but they were right in it and could have won it. Have Steph Curry hit that 3-pointer with about 7 seconds left, and the ball just didn't go in. And it's a make or miss league. But when I hear people saying, "Oh, he's not a clutch guy," maybe they haven't seen how many times he shot 3-point baskets and led the league in that multiple years. Big C, just give me your feeling. There's always a backlash from guys that say that they would have hit the shot had they been given the chance. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's the life of an analyst and a broadcaster, Charlton. Is always to dispute what is going on on the court. You know, players go out and play their hearts out in a series. You have to look at it from a Golden State's perspective, Charlton.
Yeah.
They've had 5 consecutive runs at the championship trophy. They've won 3 of those 5, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
And realistically, if you look at it, if Draymond Green had not been ejected in 2016, and I mean the situation where the officials got into play, and if you go back and look at that play over and over with he and LeBron James, Draymond Green didn't even touch LeBron James. He didn't hit LeBron James. LeBron James stepped over him, which should have been a foul, but because of LeBron James' status, he didn't get the call, Charlton. Golden State could have easily won that series if the officials had not played a pivotal role in that, Charlton. And then all of a sudden, if you take the KD injury along with the Klay Thompson injury, Golden State could have been looking at winning 5 consecutive championships if the game was just played on the court, Charlton, and not have any other outside influences dictating what goes on. And it's just like the league told the officials in this game, let the players play.
Let them play.
Don't come out here and call some foolishness and you know, stop the ebb and flow of the game and you making the decision on who's going to win. But injuries caught up with the Warriors because this is a team that has been tired. So you get tired. Anybody understands when you work overtime is that you become fatigued. And this is a team that has put in overtime when you look at the amount of games that they played, not the last 5 years, Jonathan, the last 7 years in the NBA.
Yes, that's true. You know, seeing how Klay Thompson went down, I'm sure he's made that dunk 1,000 times. I know he wasn't even hit, so Green came over to make sure he was okay, but he wasn't really hit at all. So that was not a bad play on Green. I'm glad.
But you don't have to really hit a player, Charlton. You can alter their flight. Just with a slight bump. Once you have no feet on the floor, your body is at the liberty of whatever touches it. Whether it's an arm, whether it's a hip, or whatever. And then when you come down, the floor has to be dry. And with all the perspiration that falls off a player's, Charlton, and you hit the ground and your foot moves and you fall awkwardly and the knee goes inward. So you have to understand, when you don't have leverage, your body will move. It's just like when guys take jump shots and all of a sudden somebody taps them. That's James Harden. He's always hitting the floor after stepping into somebody on a jump shot. The body moves. And so these things happen to players.
And it happens, and we've seen guys posterize. I remember the dunk that Michael Jordan had over Patrick Ewing back in the day. Everybody's going to touch somebody. But what I was thinking about, when you play 5 years in a row, and you're in the finals every single year, there's a thing called fatigue that sets in. It has to. And Big C, that might be the only explanation that Iguodala got hurt in this series. Steph Curry with the finger, not a leg issue. And then Klay Thompson twice, the thigh and also the ACL last night. You know, Looney got banged up because he was knocked down in Canada by Kawhi, and they called the foul on Looney. And, you know, everybody has some aches and pains. Even Van Vliet had an eye cut, but that was nothing with his extremities. So, do you think that body fatigue has come into place, and there's a reason you don't see teams going 5 years in a row getting to the finals because their bodies can't handle it? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's not the reason teams don't make it to the finals 5 years in a row because of their bodies, Charlton. It's about what a team's being able to do. They were healthy over those previous years, Charlton, getting to the finals. That's one of the things you look at. At any time, players can suffer injuries. It was an unfortunate injury that KD suffered when he, tethered the calf against Houston. He came back and severed it in the finals against Toronto. When you think about Klay with the awkward landing and tearing the knee, Charlton. When you go back to Boogie Cousins' injury, that was just hustling for a basketball. You can't say that he was fatigued in going after a basketball. You think about Looney. he got elbowed by Kawhi Leonard. That wasn't from fatigue, his rib injury, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fatigue is not a thing with athletes. You think about, you have 5 months during the off season to rest.
Yeah.
Your body is in optimum condition. You have nutritionists and physical therapists and workout guys that keep your body home all the time.
Yeah.
They also have workload management that they have in the NBA when players sit out games because they're trying to manage their minutes
Yeah.
because you're going to have a playoff run.
Yeah.
So, it could be easy to say that it was fatigue, Jonathan, but I don't think it was fatigue. It's just, things happen to the human anatomy when
Yeah.
you play a lot of sports. I mean, you talk about Steph Curry. He hurt his fingers. That had nothing to do with fatigue.
Yeah.
But they got hurt. And like I said with Looney, that had nothing to do with fatigue. So when you have muscle strains, these guys go into barometric chambers all the time to help the body recruit, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have the greatest physical therapists around working with these players all the time. So they get rest. They know how to stay off their feet. They know how to relax. They know how to get therapeutic treatment.
Yeah.
So fatigue is the thing that I question because they're professional athletes. And when you think about guys who have played in the league 15, 20 years, LeBron,
Yeah.
15 years in the league, he finally got hurt. Was it fatigue or was it the length of time that he's played in the league? You look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he retired, 20 years in the league, Charlton, but he was in the finals. So you can't say that he was fatigued
Yeah.
because he played all those years and kept making it to the finals.
Well, just listening to Coach Kerr in the Warriors Central, they were doing some conversations, and he did he lamented that playing so long throughout the years, for 5 years in a row, the body does have a point of no return, and that's why they'll watch people's minutes. And so a lot of the players were saying they didn't make excuses for it, but they do have a lot of jet lag on them. I want to just cut to the point with Kawhi Leonard, because I think Kawhi Leonard he's a different kind of NBA player. He's more like the throwback. He doesn't talk a lot. He talks on the court, even though he has this quiet persona about him. He really let loose last night once they won that championship. And one thing I like about his competitive advantage is when he was fouled on that last, I think there's about 0.9 seconds left on the clock, and he was fouled. He was grabbed by Draymond Green, I believe, going for the basket, just trying to get some type of a pass. And the game was over. There was no time left on the clock. But they went back and said, well, if you're fouled before you catch the ball, we got to put it on the clock. But he was advocating, they were up by 2. There was really no time on the clock, but they put 0.9 back on there, and it took about another 5 minutes. I thought that was ridiculous, but when you want to get things right, I understand, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, you get things right because there was a betting line. I think the line on the game was 3 points.
3 by
2.5 to 3 points.
Yeah.
So he had to go to the line, Charlton, to get Vegas right. That's what the officials are looking at.
Yeah.
The officials are human when it comes down to that. They lay money on the game.
Yep.
So by allowing him to come back and shoot the free throws, you made sure you covered the line.
Yeah.
In that scenario. So that was the reason for that. I mean, people can look at that in any kind of direction that they want.
Yeah.
But go back and look at the line on the game. The game is technically over. So no, we got to make sure these points go through.
Yeah.
There's millions of dollars online with people gambling on this situation. But, you think about Kawhi Leonard and the class that he was portraying and say, hey, the game is over. Let's just walk away from this and celebrate. But the officials, hey, we got Vegas on our mind. We got to get that in play.
Yeah, the prop is always in play. So when you think about Leonard, how dominant he is, and most likely will not return to Canada, but because some other things we'll talk about later, but Leonard became the first player to lead the finals for the Eastern and Western Conference. When you think about how dominant that guy is, he's so quiet you don't notice him. But the first player to lead the finals in points, rebounds, and steals since 1984. And the first player, when you think about this, to win the most valuable player from both the Western and Eastern Conference. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's the first player to win that since Larry Bird. Larry Bird was the last one to do that in '84. And also, as you said, the first player to win MVP in the Eastern and Western Conference. He did that with the San Antonio Spurs when they won a championship, and possibly would have repeated, Charlton, if he hadn't not gotten injured. They had knocked off Golden State in the first round in the first game of that series.
Yeah.
But coming back to Toronto, Charlton, after sitting out a year of basketball, getting healthy, getting his mind right,
yeah,
coming back to an organization that appreciated to have him there, as he thought. But, you know, whether he stays in Toronto or not, I mean, the media is always going to have this speculation on him going to California. But when you look at it from that perspective, he goes to California, he's just with a team. This is the same talk that had been done about Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to go get max money. He stays in Canada, Charlton, in Toronto. He owns a country, not just a city, but owns a country.
Wakanda.
I mean, he never has to pay for a meal there again, never has to pay for a place to stay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nice to go home.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful what you wish for, because going home is not always what you think it is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you're already rich, a kid walks into a bubblegum store, you can get bubblegum for $1. This is way back in the day. So someone goes, hey, $1, that's expensive. That's today's time. You can get bubblegum for a penny. So when you walk in with a bag of pennies, if someone gives you another 2 or 3 pennies, you already got $1 worth of pennies. It doesn't really sway you how many bubblegums you can buy. The fact that he may stay there, we'll just have to hear from him. Unlike a lot of programs are saying, this is where he's going indefinitely. We don't know. He doesn't even know until he says it. I want to just look at some of the numbers from this game. When you think about how close it was played down to the final 7 seconds, Big C. Really, it was close down to the final 0.9 seconds. I don't know if we've ever had a final that close, 0.9 seconds, and it's still not quite determined. But you have steals 8 for Toronto, 9 for Golden State, blocks 2, only 2 blocks by Golden State, and then, by Toronto, and 6 by Golden State. The fast break points really surprised me, because Golden State's the team that runs Big C, the Splash Brothers. They had 18 fast break points by Toronto, 11 by Golden State. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Toronto was a team that wanted it more. Toronto was the healthier team when you look at this series, and we spoke about that at the start of this series.
Yeah.
Is that Toronto was healthy. Toronto needed to be physical. And when you look at the NBA, everybody has their analytics about numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers, the only numbers that matter in the NBA are the final 2 numbers at the end of the game on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
The winner versus the loser. You can put together analytics all the time, analyzing the game. And a lot of times, the games are overanalyzed.
Yeah.
It's about heart and desire and making your baskets. I talked about prior to this game, Charlton, that the key role player in this game was going to be Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Is that he needed to go back to his game 1 mantra that he had against Golden State. And he did.
Yeah.
He rebounded last night, had a powerful game offensively, Charlton. And that realistically was the difference in the game. And as you're talking about numbers, the real difference in this game, Charlton, Toronto made 2 more 3-point shots than what Golden State did.
Yeah.
What was the final difference in the score? I mean, you think about it. That was the final difference in the score, was those 2 extra 3-point shots that Toronto made over Golden State.
Yeah. And when you look at Siakam, he was 26 points. He was 10 of 17 from the floor. He had 10 rebounds and 3 assists. When you look at Lowry also, Lowry came out and played the first period like he was the MVP. He was just knocking down everything from all over the court. 26 points. He shot 9 of 16 from the floor. He was 4 of 7 on 3 points and 10 assists. And he did most of his damage before halftime, Big C. Your thoughts on that's a long time coming for Lowry. He's never been the prodigal guy for Toronto. It was DeRozan last year, and this year is Leonard. But you can't tell me that Lowry didn't let up. What did Steve Young say? You could take the monkey off his back last night, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, you can take the monkey off his back, Charlton, but this is one of those things when you look at players. You have to be in the right setting.
Yep.
You go back years ago when Miami put together that super team that went on consistent championship runs. That's what Toronto did this year. When you look at the changes that they made in their lineup, and that what became effective in that lineup.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard, everybody talks about Kawhi Leonard, but other players stepping up like Van Fleet, is stepping up. Siakam stepping up. Carlton, Serge Ibaka, bringing in Gasol in the center. This is a retooled team. This is not the team that was the best team in the East last year, Carlton.
Right.
They made some serious roster change. Masai Ujiri, the president of Toronto Raptors, made some bold moves before the season and during the season.
Yeah.
That was the difference. Kyle Lowry became more of a role player this year, and he accepted the role that he was given, not to be the spotlight of the organization, like Dwayne Wade when LeBron James went to Miami.
Yes.
Kyle Lowry said, okay, I will take a lesser role to help the team be successful.
Yep, he did that, Big C. When you look at some of the scores, Draymond Green could have been MVP had Steph Curry's 3-point shot gone in. He had 11 points. He shot 5 of 10 from the floor. Draymond had 19 rebounds, 19 in one game. He had 13 assists. He was going to be the MVP of this series, and you know how he helped them win in Toronto last week. Andre Iguodala, 22 points. He was 9 of 15 from the floor, 3 of 6 from three-point range, and 2 rebounds. And these guys, I would say, they were healthy. Draymond, healthy. Maybe not as much for Iggy, but Big C, 19 rebounds, that's 2 days' work, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's a normal night's work for Draymond Green, but Draymond Green did not do what I suggested that he do. He needed to shoot more, Charlton. He passed up multiple opportunities to hoist the ball towards the basket. And like I said, you can't walk out of a situation like this only if I'd have taken this shot at that point. You can never hesitate when you get in a championship series. I saw that throughout in this series from multiple Golden State Warriors, is that they were trying to defer shots to Stephon Curry and Klay Thompson. When you have an open shot 15 feet from the basket, you can't hesitate. You are a professional basketball player. You are paid to take that shot. You can't always want to pass it off to a teammate. When you have a decent look at the basket, you have to take it. And those are the things that the Golden State Warriors are going to have to question themselves about, because they're in a rebuilding process. If they sign Klay Thompson is going to be out a minimum of 8 months. He won't be back until February of next year. If they sign Kevin Durant, he's going to be out a full 12 months, if not 14 months, prior to coming back from that Achilles injury. Not only that, now you got to find some players who can fill in the gaps, Charlton. There's no assurance that Iguodala will be back. This is an older veteran in the NBA. Livingston, you got to look at him. What young players are out there? What free agents that they can pick up to come in and help retool this organization, Charlton? Because they should make the playoffs again next year. But if they make the playoffs, I don't see them being higher than a 5 seed, Charlton.
Well, I tell you what, there's some contradictory statement to that, because as much as Toronto's congratulated, they beat a team without 2 starters, and they won by 2 points outside of Vegas coming in saying, no, we need somebody to shoot 2 more free throws down the end. So it's just a matter of how people play. I want to just get your thoughts on something, and we may have touched on it before, but I think it bears mentioning. There was a lot of talk in the Bay Area media that in order for the Golden State Warriors to win this game, the Splash Brothers had to be the Splash Brothers. Klay Thompson for 3 quarters, he was a Splash Brother, 30 points, 8 of 12 from the field. He shot 4 for 6 from three-point range, 5 rebounds. The man was out of his mind. Steph Curry, a lackluster performance, 21 points. He was only 6 of 17 from the floor. That might have been his worst performance that I've seen ever in a playoff game. He was only 3 of 11 for three-point range. He had 3 rebounds and only 7 assists. I thought he was passing the ball up too much in the first half when Klay was getting hot, and he was saving it for something, but he only saved it for 21 points. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's what I meant, Charlton. I said that earlier, that when players are passing up shots, you got to take your normal shot repertoire. That's the problem with them. And so Golden State, as well as Toronto played, Golden State played bad. So I don't take anything away from Toronto, because they forced Golden State into that mindset, is that they're going to sacrifice their game. And in this situation, if you don't go into a championship series with killer instinct, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to lose. And I saw Toronto with the killer instinct, and I saw Golden State throughout this series playing passively. They
played like they were just, something wasn't quite right. Also, 17 turnovers. It's hard to win a championship anywhere, at home or on the road, 17 turnovers. But it's all fair and love and war. We do congratulate.
When you talk about winning on home and on the road, you got to realize the home team's only won 3 games in the championship series. 3 games. So home court advantage meant nothing. Toronto won in Golden State. They won all 3 games in Golden State. So you think about closing out on the road and closing out a series, that's what you do. You have to walk into somebody's house and kick in the door. And that's what Toronto did. They walked to Golden State and kicked in the door at Oracle.
And isn't it something that Golden State won 2 of 3 in Toronto, and Toronto won all 3 at Golden State? So the last 5 wins were all done by the road team. We'll recap the scores. Game 1, it was 118-109 for Toronto. Game 2, 109-104 Golden State. Game 3, 123-109. And that was the Raptors. Game 4 was actually amazing. 105-92. That was won by the Raptors. Golden State 106-105. And then last night they succumbed 114-110. So Toronto wins the series 4 games to 2. It was an amazing basketball game. And it's really, injuries aside, I think if Durant's there and Thompson's healthy, maybe we're playing a Game 7. I think a lot of people think that too. But no matter what, you got to tip your hat to Toronto. They waited a long time, and they made it happen, Big C. I know you kind of mentioned his name, but you think about him, the Raptors president, who's been offered a $60 million 6-year contract by the Washington Wizards. It's hard to turn down $60 million unless you already got $160 million. So he's probably going to find his way to, oh my goodness, will he be in the same neighborhood as POTUS, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, you got to look at an offer like that. He's gone to Toronto, and he's accomplished what they brought him in there for, Charlton. He's made all the right moves as management, and he brought them a world title. Now, his wife is from D.C., so there are ties to that community, Charlton.
Yeah.
And maybe his wife wants to go back home, and he wants to go back home.
Yeah.
But, when you look at this scenario, Charlton, $60 million over 6 years is hard to turn down.
Yeah.
And especially a guy with a successful track record. You think about what he has done for Toronto last 5 years being in the playoffs. Last year, they were the best team in the NBA record-wise. This year, they were the second-best record in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he knows how to build a winning combination, Charlton. And so I would not be surprised to see him going back to Washington if they give him full reign to do what he wants to do. Unless Toronto has to seriously look at the $60 million offer. Say, hey, they can match that with what they've done. You brought us a championship. You brought us a consistent winner. Toronto would be foolish not to up the offer.
Especially Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Here's a $60 million contract to please stay. And if he stays, then he can talk other players into coming. Where the Kawhi comes to go. When people know you have leadership and you have the stones to trade away, DeRozan, who was maybe the prodigal son for Toronto at that time, Big C, and you bring in somebody who didn't even play more than, I think, 7 games a year before. That says a lot about him and what he's done. I hope it opens more doors for African-American men also to be considered as presidents of organizations. We know the coaching road is opened up more in the NBA more than in the NFL. And there's always people trying to say, yeah, but. And I appreciate seeing him there. But I want to bring up a footnote. Remember it was Coach Brown a couple of years ago in Oakland that was followed by the CHP trying to get to the game? Remember that, Big C? Well, there's some talk that he was trying to be, because he didn't have a right pass or whatever, I guess the Oakland PD were trying to rough him up and not let him onto the court. And there's still some investigation going on as to if he resisted, command. Don't they know he's a president? The NBA doesn't need that, but that's media talking in the Bay Area today, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's actually what happened when he was trying to get onto the floor.
Yeah.
The security was trying to stop him from getting onto the floor. But, the NBA has to do a better job with its personnel as far as issuing the right passes. Ujiri was just operating with the pass and giving.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to do a comparison with Toronto and with Golden State.
Yeah.
If you recall 6 years ago, Mark Jackson was the coach in Golden State.
Yeah.
Took them to the playoffs. He was terminated, Charlton.
Yeah.
They brought in Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr turns around the next year and wins the championship.
Yeah.
Mark Jackson was a minority coach. This last year in Toronto, you get rid of the coach Casey, who was the best record and coach of the year in the NBA, a minority coach. You bring in Nick Nurse. He wins the championship, Charlton. The parallel of these two organizations are very identical.
Yeah.
When you look at what Golden State did 5 years ago when they brought in Steve Kerr, they won their first championship after getting rid of a minority coach. Toronto duplicates that feat 6 years later, Charlton, getting rid of Casey and bringing in Nick Nurse. They win a championship. So the NBA is a copycat league.
Yeah.
It's ironic how things duplicate themselves in this league.
Well, that's true, and I'm glad you bring that up because everybody wants opportunity. It's a cutthroat business. And remember, Big C, how people were complaining about, well, Kevin Durant shouldn't have played. It's the Warriors' fault. It's the organization's fault. No one's really talking about that now. Toronto won. Congratulations to them. And we know that they'll come back stronger. But I don't know if they'll come back strong without Kawhi Leonard. It's all about who gets the opportunity, and that's what everybody wants. What we're going to do is come back with what's called the Big C pause. And we're going to talk about some things coming up in the sports universe. And we hope that you'll join us as we come back from the break. All right, Big C, we are back on the Big C Sports Show after the Big C pause. again, just a lot going on in the sports universe. Really appreciate seeing it play out in Northern California last night. Also, as we're still in California, you have the U.S. Open down at Pebble Beach. And, we don't want to keep up to date too many on scores because people will TiVo and go home and watch certain things. But you can listen to Big C Sports, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Spreaker. You can find Big C Sports on YouTube. Also, Xfinity Comcast. But what I really like is the app. It's called Alexa. When you walk into your house, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll hear our sponsors, and then the show comes up, so we thank them for their support. So Rose is playing great. McIlroy's playing great. Koepka's going to be up there. He's -4 last time I checked, Big C. And then Fowler's trying to inch up there also. Tiger Woods not shooting as well. He's kind of struggled, but he's going to play probably better through the weekend. The leaderboard was only 7 by the time we came on, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Justin Rose, he's playing in the same group that Tiger Woods is playing.
Yeah.
And so Tiger Woods is feeling the pressure from his own group, Charlton. He doesn't have to look at the leaderboard. He just look at the guys that he's playing with. But, it comes to this consistency about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods does not participate enough in non-sequential tournaments, Charlton, to be competitive in the majors. You got to understand, he's playing against professionals every week.
Yeah.
He's playing against guys who care about their craft.
Not afraid
Tiger
of him.
has a legacy and he has a name that he is living on his laurels.
Yep.
He is not being competitive because he is not going out playing enough rounds. And that's what it takes at this day and age. Tiger's an old man when you look at the golf course.
Yeah.
Everybody he's competing against, Charlton, is 10 to 12 years younger than him. They have a lot more zest and energy and strength in their body. Tiger doesn't command the threat presence that he used to command. When he walked on the court, everybody's butt got tight. They laugh now when he walks out there. You know, they hear the same thing I hear from my kids.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now, old man?
Old man. Well, speaking of Rose, is the leader after the first round yesterday. An amazing start to the U.S. Open. That good old boy with birdies on the last 3 holes to tie the U.S. Open scoring record at Pebble Beach with a 6 under 65 in the 2011 Open Championship. Has a one-shot lead over 4 players coming in early. So, things are going to change throughout the day. And the weather's going to be just absolutely gorgeous down at Pebble Beach for the weekend. And it's not a big golf course. I think the playing greens is only, about 3,500 square feet compared to a 7,600 square feet course. So we'll see what happens down there at Pebble Beach. The weather should be great. As far as, there's a lot of talk on Koepka that maybe he's lifting too many weights or drinking too many vitamin shakes, Big C. Which one would you say it is, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Koepka is what Tiger was 15 years ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
A chiseled golfer, a guy who took care of his body.
Yeah.
Tiger is no longer that guy. He doesn't intimidate people. People learn from what Tiger's routine was. What I need to be a dominant golfer. You saw that with McIlroy getting in the weight room. You've seen it with Koepka, Charlton. There's plenty of golfers now that have the strength to drive the ball down the range.
Yeah.
Tiger no longer possesses that. That's the reason why he doesn't intimidate any longer.
Yeah, and you know what? If you don't, he's just getting older, and probably, what did we say when the kid walks into the candy store and it's $1 candy? You got 100 pennies in your pocket. Someone wants to give you 5 more pennies. You're probably not that motivated compared to the kid that has 1 penny and he wants to buy more. Tiger, his belly's full. Can you equate what it's like, Big C, when you already eat a whole tub of pig feet? You don't want to eat another pig feet, Big C. You thought?
Well, Charlton, but it takes just as long to lose as it does to win. So why not win?
Yeah.
And so that's what I look at with Tiger. Tiger just doesn't have that competitive edge any longer.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out there and you want to play 4 rounds of golf, why don't you put yourself in the best position to play the 4 rounds of golf, Charlton, instead of always going out there struggling, getting behind? You think about Tiger. He bogeyed his last 2 holes today.
Yeah.
He lacks the mental aptitude right now, Charlton, to be a dominant golfer.
Well, I told you I thought he was too nice. Mike Tyson used to be so mean getting into the ring. Guys were ready to fall down because they didn't want to get hurt. And then after a while, he did some time and came back out. He was too nice, and he was never the same. I think that's happened to Tiger. In Major League Baseball, Arizona at Washington, Boston at Baltimore, the LA Angels at Tampa. You have Cleveland. I love it when I say Cleveland. Cleveland's playing, and they're at Detroit. St. Louis is at New York Mets. Pittsburgh at Miami. You have Texas at Cincinnati. Philadelphia is playing in Atlanta in a gorgeous stadium down south. You have the Philadelphia Phillies that still, I think they're going to kick themselves by the end of this year because Harper took a lot of money and they could have used some of that money for pitching. Just my thoughts. The Yankees at Chicago Cubs. I love the big C on the Chicago Cubs helmets. Toronto at Houston, and nobody cares in Toronto. They're still hungover from the Raptors win last night. Kansas City at Minnesota. San Diego at Colorado. Seattle is at the Oakland A's, and I'm sure maybe some of the fans in Oakland can start turning out to watch the A's play again. Chicago at the LA Dodgers, which should be a great series, Big C. Milwaukee at San Francisco in a matchup game, St. Louis, New York. I want to see this Dodgers and Cubs series this weekend. I think it's going to be amazing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the Dodgers are the best team in the major leagues. Joe Madden has righted the ship in Chicago, Charlton, when all the sports writers wanted him gone 1 month into the season, saying that he had lost his luster. But you take a team that hadn't won a championship, Charlton, in 100 years, and you win a World Series, that means you should get at least a 10-year pass in Chicago. But he has kept the Cubs on top of the heat. I like what Martinez has done in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has one of the brightest young stars in the major leagues in Bellinger, but his rule at pitcher is dominating on the mound. So, you're used to hearing about Clayton Kershaw. You're not hearing his name in Los Angeles. This has become more of a team plateau out there, Charlton, and they're winning by committee.
Yeah, they win by committee. Think of a guy who did not win by committee. You think about the LA Angels. Their designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, he hit for the cycle Thursday night against the Tampa Bay Rays in St. Petersburg, Florida. Ohtani, who is the first Japanese-born player to hit for the cycle in Major League Baseball history. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a marvelous feat, Charlton. When you think about the number of Japanese players that have come to America, Charlton, and never accomplished that feat.
Yeah.
Ichiro Suzuki, who had played with the Mariners, Charlton, had 3,000 hits in his major league career.
Yep.
And he never accomplished that feat. So, but when you think about Shohei Ohtani, Charlton, just in his second year in the major leagues, and he has both pitched and played the field, and now he's the DH after coming back from that Tommy John surgery,
yeah,
but he can still wield the bat.
He's amazing, Big C. You think about Baltimore Orioles and the Minnesota Twins. Would you believe they're tied in they're tied in different ways with 132 home runs. They're really swinging the bat, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the swing of the bat is the Minnesota Twins, Charlton. They're leading the major leagues going into the night with 132 home runs.
Wow.
But on the flip side, you think about the Baltimore Orioles, Charlton, they've given up that many home runs. So these are the polar opposites when you think about teams. The Twins are leading their divisions, and the Orioles are exercising in futility and swallowing in the bottom of their own division. Charlton.
Yeah, and it's amazing how baseball goes, and it's about who has the best pitching. I know people want to give a lot of money to the hitters, but it really comes down to the pitching. I want to get on a little bit of thought about what's happening in the odds for the College World Series to win it all. Vanderbilt has some great pitching, and then Arkansas is very solid. They're 4-1 odds according to the odds makers. Mississippi State is 5-1. Louisville's 8-1. Texas Tech is 9-1, and Auburn's 10-1. And I know, being a West Coast guy, UCLA was favored to win it all, Big C, but sometimes when you get away from Westwood, things don't quite go your way. Give me your feeling on this baseball odds for the World Series, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, odds-on favorite right now is there's an SEC team that is going to win the College World Series when you just gave the odds. But, they have the most teams that have made the trip to Omaha.
Yeah.
I believe they have 5 teams out of SEC. The Big 12 has 2 teams, Charlton. The ACC has 1.
Yeah.
So the ACC actually has 2, Florida State and Louisville.
Yeah.
So when you think about the road to Omaha and the College World Series, Charlton, this is one of the greatest showcases in college baseball. Last night they had a game there with the Royals and the Tigers playing in that great stadium in Omaha. The National League, the Major League Baseball went there last night to put on a game for the fans in Omaha. Now the real play begins this weekend, Charlton, with the college players.
Yeah, it definitely will. But I want to look at this team in Michigan, because Michigan took UCLA and really turned their series, up on its heels, if that makes any sense, because they came out and won it on the West Coast and knocked the Bruins out of it. So the road to Omaha is finally here with 8 teams in the College World Series. Michigan out of the Big Ten with a 46-20 record, and they won the Corvallis Regional. And I want to get your thoughts on, think about what the Wolverines feel for a football franchise. Their basketball team legit. They've been in the National Championship Series for the Final Four. and now their baseball team is in the playoffs World Series. It's only the Wolverines, and I guess you would say that Michigan's more known for their football program. Why are the Wolverines having a hard time on the football field, but baseball and basketball, they're fine, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the baseball program has reached new heights. The football program, it has turned around since Harbaugh returned. I mean, they were leading the Big Ten until that game against Ohio State, and Dwayne Haskins just lit them up for 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know, the basketball team has made consecutive runs to the Final Four in the NBA tournament and the Elite Eight. So, you know, this program athletically at Michigan State is on heights right now, Charlton, as far as any across the country.
When you think about Texas Tech, now they're out of the Big 12. They're 44-18. They won the Lubbock Regional. Now, this is the program, I remember that you look at how they played in football. They're up and down football program. But this team reached the Final Four, and they were just snippets away from winning the national championship, falling to Virginia. But now they're back on the saddle because their baseball team is back in a pursuit of a championship, Big C. Big 12 is amazing for football, basketball. You don't think as much in baseball, but 44-18, they won the Lubbock Regional. This team has they're leading the rise of their program down in Texas, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you think about the Big 12, they've had some dominant baseball programs down there. Oklahoma has been a dominant baseball program.
Yep.
University of Texas have won multiple NCAA titles, Charlton. But when you think about the Red Raiders, they won their own home regional, Charlton. They played in Lubbock, so they had some home cooking to help them out. Now they got to go on the road to Omaha.
Now they got to go on the road to Omaha, Big C. And think of going on the road. Florida State out of the ACC with a record 41-21. They won the Athens Regional, but I think they've been into the playoffs. I think it's over, 41 or 42 straight years for the Seminoles, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, this is a place for them just like it is the New England Patriots in the NFL playoffs, Charlton. The Florida State Seminoles, this is a team that is battle-tested, they're road-tested. They know what it's like to be in a championship run, Charlton, and they've made it back to Omaha once again.
Well, yeah, they've done it very well. Arkansas, out of the SEC, 46-18 record. Now they won the Fayetteville Regional, which is also in Arkansas. This is a program that's won a national championship in football way back in the day, and they've also won it in basketball. I remember 40 minutes of hell on the Nolan Richardson. Now they're back at the swing of things in the playoffs in the College Baseball World Series. 46-18 is very difficult when you come out of the SEC. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about it, it's going to be a little pig suey going on in cattle country up in Omaha.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they might want to pass out some ribs and make the bat a little slippery against the opposing players.
Now, that's not where you got the pig feet from the bet that you won that Toronto would win it all, Big C. I don't have to eat pig feet from the college team, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Arkansas, the Razorbacks, Charlton, this is the program that has a history of winning. When you think about it, as you talked about, they were one of the more illustrious football programs in the 70s and 80s in the U.S.
Yeah.
And Nolan Richards, 40 minutes of hell, the first time that their basketball team ever won a national championship. And President Bill Clinton was in the stands there watching the game in Charlotte when they won that title, Charlton.
Yeah.
But now the baseball team is poised to go on a championship run.
Very, very, very good program down there, Big C. Louisville, out of the ACC, another ACC program along with Florida State. They're 49-16, and they won the Louisville Regional. And this is what, I'm a West Coast guy, so I was really pulling for UCLA. I know the women's program won it, but the Bruins were also having the chance to play Michigan in their own backyard. But Louisville only have 16 losses on the season, and they got to play Florida State a lot, Big C. This is a team that has a chance to win it all, too. Your thoughts?
Well, Louisville, Charlton, this is a program that's been on the rise. When you think about it, they've always been noted for having a great basketball program down there, Charlton. They won multiple championships. They had a Heisman Trophy winner with Lamar Jackson just a couple seasons ago,
That's right.
Who is now the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. But the baseball team has arrived, Charlton, and this is their time to shine.
I know that there's a couple of teams that are in your neck of the woods that you just love. I want to look at Mississippi State. Out of the SEC, they're 51-13 record. They won the Starkville Regional. Now, this is the program also that's coming on strong, with their football program. And their baseball program is ahead of schedule, it seems. Give me your feelings on 51-13 is very difficult in the SEC as well, Big C.
Well, Charlton, that entire sports program has been rebuilt down in Starkville, and so they won their own regional also. The football program has done very well down there. They have that cowbell tradition. You think about the basketball team, Charlton, they made it to the Elite Eight this year in the NCAA tournament. And now the baseball program has always been a powerhouse. I mean, they had a player that was one of the stars out there in that area, Will Clark, who used to play with the Giants out there, Charlton. So they put a plethora of players in Major League Baseball, Charlton, and so they're no strangers to the College World Series.
Auburn out of the SEC, 38-26 record. Not that impressive, but they did win the Atlanta Regional. I think what makes people scared about Auburn is when they bring their mascots, they bring an eagle and a tiger. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're on attack mode when you think about Auburn. And once again, as we're talking about basketball programs, that they made it to the Elite Eight. Matter of fact, the Final Four in the basketball tournament. Their football team had a down year this year, but the basketball team represented Auburn well, and now we see the baseball team, Charlton, making it to the Final Eight in the baseball playoffs.
Yeah, I think the University of Oregon wants to make sure their football program gets off to a slow start again this year, as they will open up down in Texas, Big C. The team that I really like is because of their pitching. Vanderbilt, also out of the SEC, a 54-11 record. They won the Nashville Regional. This program also is a high academic school, a lot like Stanford, but their football program actually started to rise up a little bit, and their baseball team is doing the same. This is a growing program down at Vanderbilt. I don't think this is one-hit wonder, Big C. Your thoughts?
No, it's not a one-hit wonder, Charlton. They're going to have a top 10 pick in the NBA draft coming up from their basketball team, a freshman guard, as well as they're led by a freshman pitcher, Kamara Rucker, whose dad played football in the SEC, Charlton, but he chose the path of baseball, and he's led this team to the top record going into the tournament, Charlton, in Omaha.
Yeah, it's amazing what it's like when you have these smaller towns that have championship programs. People really turn out to watch them. I do want to say congratulations to everyone pursuing a World Series championship for the College World Series champions. I know we've seen some great programs from the West Coast, from USC, Arizona State, Fresno State, and just some over the year, Oregon State. They've had a lot from the Pac-12. Hopefully we'll get back there next year. On this date, 25 years ago, it was Mark Messier. He won his 6th and final Stanley Cup with the New York Islanders. It was a 25-year absence from hosting the Cup for the New York Islanders. And I know with St. Louis winning Lord Stanley's Cup yesterday over Boston, I don't want people to forget about how great Messier was back in the day. Big C, your thoughts?
So many people thought about Messier just being a teammate of the great one, Wayne Gretzky. They won 4 championships in Edmonton together, Charlton, when Gretzky was in Edmonton. Gretzky left and went to Los Angeles. Messier won another championship in Edmonton, giving him 5 when Wayne Gretzky was gone. But not only that, after his career ended in Edmonton, Charlton, and he moved to New York with the Islanders, he promised that he would bring a championship to the Islanders. It was a 25-year absence for the Islanders hoisting Lloyd Stanley's Cup, Charlton, and that's where Messier captured his 6th and final championship with the Islanders, giving him 6 on his career, and the great one, Wayne Gretzky, only has 4.
That's amazing, and you still think about Gretzky. I want to bring up one thing, too, because Gretzky, when he left Canada, he was the prodigal son of Canada. He was what Kawhi Leonard is, and he left to a different country. So Kawhi Leonard, he grew up, I believe, in Southern California, went to San Diego State, and for him to go up to Canada, it's kind of, he was passing Wayne Gretzky's image on the way there, and he brought a championship to Canada. Do you draw any parallel? Gretzky coming, he was what people say Kawhi Leonard could be, but it wasn't enough to keep him out of L.A. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at marketing at that time, Wayne Gretzky was destined for more things than hockey. I mean, Charlton, he had done all he could do in Edmonton, winning those 4 titles. And Kawhi Leonard, I mean, when you look at an athlete, and everybody talks about winning, that's what it's all about. Kawhi Leonard has accomplished that with 2 different organizations.
Yeah.
And he's been the MVP of the finals with both of those organizations, a rare feat only accomplished by him.
Yeah.
The thing about the NBA versus other cities, Charlton, and other sports, is that every city in the NBA is a big city. You got to make the money.
Yeah.
I know players want to be on championship teams. Toronto had never won a championship prior to Kawhi Leonard going there. So there's something about Kawhi Leonard is that you can build a team around. If he goes to San Diego, well, not San Diego, but to the Los Angeles Clippers and play, Charlton,
Yeah.
he would be playing under the tutelage of the NBA Coach of the Year, Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has championship pedigree. He's won a championship with the Celtics as a coach, Charlton. He is one of those guys who can get the most out of players.
Yeah.
They have a good young nucleus in the Clippers, just like they have in Toronto. And if Kawhi Leonard wants to go home, who can hold it against him?
Yeah.
I mean, there's more to sports than just money. And everybody in the media talks about, no, it's all about the money. It's all about being comfortable in the environment that you're in. You think about Reggie White when he went to Green Bay. What had Green Bay ever won prior to the late, great Reggie White going to Green Bay? Nothing. And everybody's like, you can go anywhere you want
Back
as
to
a
Bart
free
Starr.
agent.
Yeah, you got to go back to Bart Starr's days. Yeah.
And that's what he did, Charlton. He went where he wanted to go, where he was comfortable as a person.
Yeah.
And that's Kawhi Leonard. People cannot make decisions for Kawhi Leonard, just like they can't make decisions for Kevin Durant. You go where your heart wants to be as an athlete.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of heart, down in Vegas where it's going to be in the triple digits temperature-wise, but they fight inside. Remember back in the day, some guys would fight outside Big C, especially when they fight over in
Used
Europe.
to fight in the parking lot at Caesar's Palace, where they put up that makeshift arena out there, Charlton, and it'd be 110 degrees. I remember being down there for, Michael Doak's fight and Ernie Shavers, and it was 110 degrees and 9 knockdowns in that fight, Charlton.
That's funny. I mean, Vegas is great until you get out into the natural air, Big C. But I want to just bring up some things that I love about the sports, because everybody finds that boxing is missing something because MMA is so spectacular. Tyson Fury versus Tom Schwartz. Fury's 27-1, 19 KOs. Schwartz is 24-0, 16 KOs tomorrow night in Las Vegas. I know the name Fury is a big name, but it doesn't make me want to change my schedule as if it was maybe Mike Tyson from back in the day. Or even when you think about Mayweather, if he was fighting again, to just see that. I still saw that draw that Fury had against Wilder, and I think Wilder won that fight. But everybody can say what they want to say about boxing. It's always shenanigans going on. Does this fight turn you on, or is it just because the guy is 27-1, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about it, this is the first time that both of these fighters are fighting in Las Vegas in their career. Neither one has ever had a fight in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to Vegas as far as an enigma being there. You got two white undefeated champions, Charlton, coming to fight in Vegas. And you think about Fury, this is the tallest heavyweight ever, Charlton, when you think about a guy that's 6'9", 265 pounds. He has a huge reach advantage over all his opponents. And to put two gladiators in the ring in Vegas, you think about how long it's been since you've had undefeated heavyweights in Vegas. There is a draw appeal to this fight, Charlton, because now the boxing game, because when you make heavyweights relevant in boxing, that creates the interest other than all these smaller classes that you're fighting people, Charlton. People are a little burnt out on seeing Mayweather not fight anybody and win.
But does this make you know how when Tyson was going to fight Holyfield, that was exciting. When Ali was going to fight Foreman, that was exciting. Ali was going to fight Frazier, that was exciting. Even if you say Spinks and Tyson, we know it's going to be a quick fight, but those are more exciting. This doesn't rival that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, every fighter has his era, Charlton. You think about Lennox Lewis when he was the heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
People say, well, because he was from across the pond, he did not have the luster of the American champions. This is the same thing that's being said about Tyson Fury. But I think to boxing aficionados is that they want to see a competitive boxing match, Charlton, and that's what they're looking for. This is the reason why Vegas has brought this fight into the umbrella. Vegas just doesn't bring everybody in.
Yeah.
But for Vegas to warrant to have a heavyweight title fight in that city, Charlton, it's because it's time for boxing to regain its reign far as on top of the sporting ledger, Charlton.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that fight. I mean, it might be some shenanigans also. There's always something. I want to just close out today on Big C Sports on Father's Day weekend, wishing everyone a happy Father's Day. The two most scrutinized quarterbacks in the upcoming NFL season will be Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys and Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Both guys are questioned so much, yet they're playoff quarterbacks. There are a lot of mainstream quarterbacks that get so much money, whether it's Cousins or Garoppolo, and they haven't seen anywhere near a playoff game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you just spoke about the cousin in Minnesota. You look at Lamar Jackson's record. versus his last year. Lamar Jackson was 6-1 in the regular season as a starter in Baltimore after replacing Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco had to find a new home and was traded to Denver. Now everybody is saying, well, Lamar Jackson is not a pass. Well, he won the Heisman Trophy, and he was a runner-up the second year, Charlton, in college, winning the Heisman Trophy. So he does have some throwing pedigree. I think that John Harbaugh will restructure the offense for Lamar Jackson. When he took over last year, he took over Joe Flacco's offense. That offense wasn't structured for his mechanics and his tools. I think with half a season last year of playing and an entire offseason, Charlton, you'll see a more improved Lamar Jackson, Charlton. They're not going to take away all of his running.
No.
But he will learn how to throw the ball a lot more quicker, Charlton. He'll have a quick read offense.
You think about the Cowboys in the NFC East behind Prescott for the second time in 3 seasons. Think about this guy. He's the second winningest quarterback in the regular season, only behind Tom Brady. That means he's number 1 in the NFC. And there's a lot of guys getting money, and they're always telling him to wait. Wait your turn. It's too early. We got to see if it's going to pan out. You've only made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, Big C. He has to at some point earn some respect from not baseball, but NFL brethren, especially Jerry Jones. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's amazing how minority quarterbacks have to be patient in the league, and that they shouldn't get the top dollar quarterback money.
Right.
You look at Carson Wentz, just got $107 million guaranteed. $67 million of that was given to him, Charlton, when he signed his contract extension with the Eagles. Dak Prescott has dominated Carson Wentz since they've been in the NFL playing against each other. But the media doesn't see it from that perspective. They keep going back to say, well, Carson Wentz was a first-round draft pick, and Dak Prescott was a 4th-round draft pick. Winning aside, it's because he's gotten help from the players in the organization. And I guess that Carson Wentz has gone out and played all the games by himself. Matter of fact, I think it was Nick Foles who won the Super Bowl for the Eagles. So Carson Wentz just has a ring. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, even though the media is labeling him as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But I think if you look at the game stat, he was down as did not play. So, but when I look at Dak Prescott, what he has done, and he's constantly been under the scrutiny of the media, saying that, how can you put a franchise tag on this guy and all he does is win? We got to find a way for him to give a discount. He's won more games than Jimmy Garoppolo has, Charlton, as a 49ers quarterback. He's won more games than Matthew Stafford has, Charlton, in the last 3 years. He's won more games than Matt Ryan in the last 3 years. He's won more games than Aaron Rodgers in the last 3 years, Charlton. So when you want to talk about the top flight quarterbacks in the NFL, he's won more games than Carson Wentz. So if you're paying out these huge exorbitant contracts to quarterbacks around the NFL, if it's based on analytics and productivity, then when you're looking at Dak Prescott, how can you not pay him $30 to $32 million a year?
It's all fair and love and war, but you got the record. You got to just show your record and top the record. But as far as media, that's why Big C Sports is there to keep it honest. And speaking of Big C Sports, you can find us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iHeartRadio podcast. You can find Big C Sports on Apple Podcast. You can find Big C Sports on Google Podcast. You can find us on Spreaker and Spotify. I also like the fact that you can find us on Xfinity Comcast. If you have that app in your home called Alexa, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear our sponsors, and then our show will come up. So we thank the sponsors for the growth. I want to just say it's a great Father's Day weekend. I know a lot of people are probably going to just relax and barbecue or watch some golf. I'll be watching some of the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. And I want to, again, congratulate the St. Louis Blues for winning Lord Stanley's Cup. They did it in Boston, and that was a tough environment. And then as a road team, they did that. And then coming back here to Northern California, the Bay Area, I know Golden State has some injured players, and it's all fair in love and war. They don't make excuses for that. I want to congratulate the Toronto Raptors for what they did for Canada. Congratulations to the Raptors. And we hope that they can see that more and more, when you give people opportunity, they have a chance to win out. So, Big C, I don't know what you're doing on Father's Day, but can I get a slice of the menu, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the slice of the menu for Father's Day is that I'm going to say thank you to all that seafood that I'm going to consume. All the food that I see, I'm going to consume. So I'm seeing food.
I'm going to try to see it too. You can see it too. Happy Father's Day from Big C Sports to the universe. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know anybody going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.